Prime Minister, your party for the last quarter of a century has been engaged in what some people have described as a lengthy drive-by shooting on the European Union. How do you expect to be taken seriously by the British people as you embark on this handbrake turn and now make an argument that our destiny lies in Europe when so many of the things that caused you to be a Eurosceptic are still there? We still have the primacy of EU law, we still have the Charter of Fundamental Rights, the European Commission still has the sole power of initiation. And also, if I may ask you, it appears that your good friend Michael Gove has decided that he agrees with Nigel Farage and George Galloway and he doesn't agree with Dave. Are you disappointed?
Well, first of all, on your first question, I've been arguing for reform of the European Union and arguing for reform of Britain's place in it for 25 years. And it is a privilege to be Prime Minister of this country and be able to bring so many of those reforms about. And I think it is worth remembering, when we set off down this track, and I said we would renegotiate our membership from a standing start, people said, you'll never hold that renegotiation, you'll never hold that referendum, you'll never get people to agree to the things you want. And look at what we've agreed today. I won't overstate what we've agreed, but I said I would get Britain out of ever closer union. That's exactly what this agreement does. I said I'd get fairness for the pound, because if we're going to work inside this European Union, which has, of course, its own important currency, the euro, we must have fairness, we must have non-discrimination, we must have proper rules to make sure we don't just keep the pound, but we keep the pound and our currencies treated fairly. And this is really an important set of principles set out today that will become part of the treaties of the European Union. I said Europe's got to focus more on competitiveness, less bureaucracy, get out there, sell to the world, sign these trade deals, all of those things in this agreement today. And then when I talked about the importance of enhancing our control of migration, addressing this challenge of welfare, people said to me, you will never get other European countries to allow Britain not to pay instant welfare benefits to people who come. Well, that is exactly what this agreement does today. You will not get full access to our welfare system for 4 years. Now, just think for a second what this actually means today. Right? We are going to have this emergency brake. It's going to last for 7 years. And when people come to Britain, they won't be able to get full access to our welfare system for 4 years. Now, let's say this brake comes into place in 2017. That means it's still going to be operating in 2024. That means someone coming in 2024 will not have full access to our welfare system in 2028. Now, I think when we set out on this negotiation, people would not have believed that was possible to achieve, but that is exactly what this agreement today brings about. No more something for nothing. People can come to our country, but they will not get out of our welfare system until they've paid in. And I think that's a very profound change. Now, let me say about Michael Gove. Michael is one of my oldest and closest friends. He has wanted to get Britain to pull out of the European Union for about 30 years. So, of course, I'm disappointed that we're not going to be on the same side as we have this vital argument about our country's future. I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. And people will have to decide. Politicians are only going to get one vote, just like everyone else is going to get one vote. And all I can say in the position I have, I profoundly believe that with these changes, with everything that's happening in our world, everything that's happening in our economy, we'll be better off inside this reformed European Union. And I'll put this agreement to the Cabinet. I hope the Cabinet will back this agreement. Then we'll hold that referendum, and I will campaign very, very strongly with all the insight I hope I have, as having led our country for almost 6 years, that we're better off inside a reformed European Union. Other politicians will have to make up their minds, and they will have to make their own announcements. But in the end, it's the British people who will decide. Let's have Faisal from Sky.
Prime Minister, you promised, as you'll well remember, fundamental and far-reaching change at your Bloomberg speech. Can you even begin to say that you can guarantee that there'll be a single less EU migrant from the record 330,000 net migration that we have at the moment? Can you guarantee that a single less EU law will apply to the United Kingdom? You went for a 13-year emergency break and you got a 7-year emergency break. Did you really fold on this negotiation? And lastly, what are you doing on June the 23rd?
First of all, I think any impartial examination of what was promised in this negotiation and what has been delivered would conclude that we have delivered the overwhelming majority of all the things that we said we would. For instance, getting Britain out of ever closer union, not just words, but a commitment to a treaty change that says that ever closer union no longer applies to the United Kingdom. That's incredibly strong. The changes on welfare. We said no full access for 4 years. We've got no full access for 4 years, and because it's a 7-year break, as I've said, this could still be operating in 2028. I don't know where we're all going to be in 2028, but that is, I think, on anyone's reckoning, a very, very long time away in terms of a fundamental change to the way this organisation works. I'm not claiming I've solved all of Europe's problems. I'm not claiming I've solved all of Britain's problems with Europe. But what I am claiming is the things we set out we'd do, the problems that British people feel we face with Europe, we have gone a long way to addressing those. I'd say when you ask people, what is it that concerns you about the way Europe works? People say it is too much of a political union. Well, we're out of that political union. They say it's too much of a single currency club. We've guaranteed fair treatment for the pound and never having to not only not just join the euro, but bail out the euro. People say it's not competitive enough. There's too much bureaucracy. Our declaration clearly addresses that, with also a target to reduce bureaucracy. And people are frustrated by the sense that we don't have enough control over our borders or over our welfare. And actually this agreement addresses both of those things. First, because of the welfare changes, which I think on any fair looking at this are really significant. And secondly, the very important changes on the abuse of free movement. It has been a frustration of British Home Secretaries and British governments for years that we can't apply our immigration rules to third country nationals coming from Europe. Now we can. It's been a frustration for years we can't address sham marriages, including the huge amount taking place in countries very close to the UK with people coming in. We now can. So yes, I can tell you that there will be people who currently are coming who won't be able to come because of these rule changes. But as I say, it doesn't solve all the problems, but I think any dispassionate, impartial examination of what was promised and what was been delivered would say we have actually delivered the things that we said we would in this negotiation. I'm looking for the BBC. I feel, oh my God, right, okay, sorry.